Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom Action Attack Stegosaurus. Now, I don't really have a lot to say, so we're just going to get right into this. So first, we'll take a look at the painting on this figure. And the painting on this figure is pretty nice at first. At first glance, the painting doesn't look too bad. We have kind of like a minty green color for the body, which does look nice, and we have a very dark shade of green for the dorsal plates on the back here, which looks nice. And we do have some kind of like a lime green on the very top of the dorsal plates, which look nice. The inside of the plates, unfortunately, are not painted. However, on this specific plate right here, we do have kind of a paint blemish, so I guess you could kind of say that that's sort of paint there, but it's not supposed to be there. Of course, the back tail spikes are painted a bonish white color, which does look nice, as well as the beak here. And also the underside of the figure is painted almost like a yellowish color bordering on a greenish color. So yeah, that looks nice. And of course, we have the scan code right here and the new Jurassic World logo. So yeah. And going to the eyes here, we can see that the eyes are painted orange with black pupils. But unfortunately, on the other side, this figure has the similar problem as the Triceratops and the Stegosaurus, or this is the Stegosaurus, the Triceratops and the Ankylosaurus. There's just one thing that's very unfortunate. As you can see on the other side, you can see, if you look closely, you can see that the painting on the eye is under the eye itself. So the eye is not painted, instead it's just the eyelid that's painted. It's actually very noticeable on this figure. It actually almost looks like this figure has no eye at all. Or it does, it just looks like, it almost looks like this eye is just very sad looking. But yeah, no. Again, that is actually very poor design. So, yeah. But honestly, that's pretty much it for the painting on this figure. Yeah, the eye is a huge issue. That and I would kind of wish the toenails were painted, but the painting on this figure, for the most part, still isn't that bad. So, the painting on this figure, I'd say gets 3/4 of a pass. I can forgive the lack of painting on the toenails, and the eye problem is honestly the worst part about this paint job. And I know with my previous videos, with the Ankylosaurus and the Triceratops, I still gave the painting a pass. And the reason why was because, like, it was noticeable, but didn't look as bad as the Stegosaurus here, so yeah. The quality control issues with the Jurassic World toy line is not the best. In fact, it's actually pretty bad in some cases, so yeah. But either way, the painting on this figure, still nice enough to where it's not awful. So the painting, again, gets 3/4 of a pass. Now we'll take a look at the articulation, and the articulation on this figure is pretty basic. So at the base of the neck here, it can look down that much and up, well, not much at all. And it can swivel, but not much. Definitely not a full 360, so yeah. Or it can, you just have to move the dorsal plates. I'm just being stupid. But anyway, the front legs can move forwards this much, and backwards this much. And they can spread that much, which is pretty decent. The legs can spread this much, and it is possible to make the legs to a 360, but I wouldn't, because you do kind of rub against the part of the body here, so definitely don't do that. But yeah, again, it can spread. But again, if you wanted, you could kind of have this figure kind of in like a drinking pose or eating pose or whatever. I mean, alright, that doesn't really look great, but I think you know what I'm trying to pull off here. And we have a cleverly hidden button right here, which is actually a dorsal plate. And if we push that, the tail swings, which is actually pretty cool. The thing I don't like, it's not really this gimmick itself, you know, like the button is very well hidden, and I like that. But the spring in the tail is very weak, so you don't get a lot of movement. If it was a bit stronger, it would have been cool, but maybe if it was like, you know, maybe not really a button here, but maybe if you pulled that back and like the tail just kind of like swung forward, I feel like that'd be a little cooler. So, yeah. But honestly, that is pretty much it for the articulation on this figure. And the articulation, not bad. Again, I wish the springs in the tail were just a little stronger, but the articulation it's basic, but it's still nice. And, you know, it's comparable to all the other quadrupeds in this line. So, yeah, the articulation on this figure gets a pass. Now take a look at the sculpt, and the sculpting on this figure is almost perfect. There's just one thing that I know it's very small, but it's actually kind of annoying, and that would be the tail. And the tail itself looks nice, but it's positioned completely wrong. In Jurassic World, and even in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the tail was more like in the air. Kind of like, just as a, like, kind of like a comparison. I actually reviewed this a couple weeks ago, but the Roarvore's Triceratops, it's not really like dragging, it's like straight in the air, but even then it still kind of looks like it's like drooping a little bit. But yeah, of course the tail on the Stegosaurus should be in the air more. Maybe if it was like straight in the air like so, I feel like it'd look a little bit, or it doesn't even have to be just straight. It couldn't be like a little droopy, but not as low as this. And I get you probably want to, like, you know, I know we're kind of early in the whole size comparison thing, but Dr. Billy Grant, if you wanted to, like, you know, just kind of like do that, then I guess it would work. But maybe like have the tail just a little higher to where it could still knock over human figures, but it's not too low to the ground. Maybe something like that I feel like would work, but that's just me. But yeah, other than that, sculpting on this figure is very good, so the sculpting gets a pass. Now take a look at the detailing, and the detailing on this figure is pretty good. So taking a look at the head, we can see the creasing, and the face right here is very nice, and all the scales and whatnot looks good. And we have some nice musculature going down the neck, which looks good. And very well defined on the neck at least, but on the body, it doesn't look too defined, but it still looks good. So yeah, we have some nice scaling, some nice creasing, and musculature, which looks nice. And we have some nice detailing on the back legs here. Very nice musculature, and the feet are detailed very nicely as well. And I know I kind of forgot to go over this, but stutters, here are the front legs, which look very nice as well. The dorsal plates on this figure, again, are detailed very nicely. Everything here very nicely defined. All the creases and whatnot look very nice. And of course, the detailing on the scales on the tail look very nice as well. More musculature, which looks nice, and the detailing on the spikes at the end of the tail look very nice as well. And that's pretty much it for the detailing on this figure. And the detailing on this figure, very nice. And the body, it's not as well defined as the neck here, but the detailing is still nicely defined. So yeah, the detailing on this figure is good, so it gets a pass. So at the end of the day, should you get this? It's not a bad figure by any means, just be careful of the paint. I feel like, you know, the eye paint right here is definitely the worst part about this figure, but everything else is fine. And I know I kind of complained about the tail, you know, being too close to the ground, but even then, it still doesn't look awful. In fact, there's actually a Kenner figure that is actually very similar to this. I actually don't have it, but that's actually a figure I really want to get one day. But instead of having joints right here, the tail is actually rubber, and there was no button. You just kind of like pull back the tail, and the tail just like swings forward, which I like a little better than the whole button in the dorsal plate. It's still not bad, but again, I prefer the whole, like, you know, that action. That and the springs from the tail are way too loose, so yeah. But at the end of the day, this is still a very nice figure. Kids, I feel like, are gonna like this. You know, this is a very good size, so, you know, the bigger dinosaur figures for kids, the better, because, well, yeah, very nice size. And even, you know, in a collector standpoint, I still feel like that, you know, this figure does still look very nice, so yeah. This figure originally retailed for about 20 bucks, which honestly isn't bad for what you're paying for. This figure is a good size, even though the tail is a little bit weak, but, you know, the leg joints and even the joint in the neck is very good. And honestly, this is still a very nice figure, so 20 bucks, I'd say it's worth it. I don't know if it's still in stores or not, but if it is, definitely go for it. But if not, then probably order this from Amazon. I believe it's like 19 bucks on Amazon. Probably not a lot, but I could be wrong about that. It could be much more than it originally retailed, so yeah. And if you can't find this thing on Amazon, well, then probably go to eBay. Again, be careful of scalpers, but yeah. Either way, this is still a very nice figure. Not perfect, but still very nice. But if you want to know how big this figure is, here it is next to Dr. Billy Grant. And these two actually scale up very nicely. Something that I should have said before, I said this before in the past, but I can't stress this enough. I feel like these figures would have been better if they were in the 4-inch scale instead of the 3-inch scale, but that's just me. But yeah, either way, they still scale up very nicely together. And that is it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zack out.